Okay, so number 1 and 2 are correct, and we did those in the class
Yeah.
on Tuesday. But number 3 is also correct. The
Okay.
type of error that you put, subject verb agreement. So why is number 3 a subject verb agreement error?
Well, for this one, everyone
Yeah.
were,
Yes,
everyone was, right?
right. Okay, why is that called subject verb agreement error?
Cause I don't know, cause the subject was wrong, or they don't match.
Good. When you think of subject verb agreement, think of matching singular and plural.
Hmm.
Like if the subject is singular, then we need to make sure the verb matches that correctly. Like everyone is, everyone was, everyone has. Everyone is a singular subject. Good. So we cannot put it with were, we cannot put it with are. Yeah, so that's good. Let me bring in the rest of the group and we're going to finish checking yours together.
Okay.
Okay, they're coming in just a second. Okay, Carolina and Gerardo, you're back in our group. Can you see Alan's screen?
Alan screen. Alan screen.
Yeah, it's this editing practice worksheet.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes, I see one worksheet. I think it's that one.
Yeah, this is Alan's, where he put singular plural noun, verb form, subject verb agreement. That's his paper. So this is kind of fun, actually. I feel like we're in a real class. I love doing groups in class, so I just have to do groups somehow with this whole electronic world. So Gerardo and Carolina, you guys are going to help us with the rest of Alan's sentences, okay? So we already checked number 1, 2, and 3 on the screen here, and those are now correct. They're all correct sentences. But Alan did not make any corrections to 4, 5, or 6.
Okay.
So, yeah, so Gerardo, can you help us? Let's see, what do we need to do with 4?
So for 4, I did last year the beaches. The beaches is plural in Florida, but the verb is are and it's
Okay.
in present. And the sentence is last year, so I changed the verb are for where.
Yes, that's correct. Carolina, did you get that one too? Did you get that correct? Number 4?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, good. And so, Alan, you are correct. It is a verb tense mistake. And so now we changed are to were. So think of tense as time. So if you want to go from present to past, like we did, that's a tense change. If we want to go from past and change it to present, that's a tense change. Okay? So verb tense, think of verb time, past, present, future. So we're talking about last year. We need to make sure the verb is in the past. So were is correct. Okay, Carolina, do you want to help us with number 5? And Alan can make the corrections on his paper here.
Teacher, that was so confusing for me.
That one is hard. Okay. Okay, why? Do you think it's already correct?
No, I think it's not a comma in there. It's a um a period.
Okay. That's one way we can correct it. We can put a period after beach. Yes. Okay. And what else? There's another way that we could correct it. Does anybody know?
We can add a word.
Okay. Like what would you put there?
teacher, I don't know, but I remember you said that in the last class.
You can add a word. Right. And sometimes it's hard to know what word to add and where to add the word. So, Gerardo, what do you think about number 5?
Oh, can it be a fanboy like end?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We can add fanboys and we can make this into a compound sentence. I took a walk on a large beach, comma, and it was so relaxing to see the waves. So, Alan, this is your paper. You can choose how you want to do it. Do you want to put a period after beach or make a compound sentence? Which one?
I will add an fanboy.
Okay. And Gerardo, do you have a question?
Yes, teacher. So if we put a period, so do you think it's a complete sentence from each side?
Yes. So if
Okay.
you put a period after beach, we have subject and verb, I took, and we have what we took. I took a walk. Okay, on a large beach. That is a complete idea. We've got subject, verb, object, and then we said where on a large beach. On the right side, we have a subject, it, and a verb was. It was so relaxing to see the waves. That is a complete idea.
So if we add the fanboys, so do we need a comma, right?
Yes, we do. So, Alan, you're going to put that comma after beach. We're going to keep that comma,
Okay.
and then we'll have the fanboys. Good. So, we're making a compound sentence. Remember, compound has comma and fanboys between the subject verb pairs. Okay, Gerardo, go ahead.
Sorry, teacher.
I like all your questions. This is good.
You know, that is one of my doubts because when I'm reading some book or, for example, some writing that you do, sometimes there is a fanboy, but you don't use comma, and that is one of my biggest problems. I don't know why.
Yep.
What is the reason?
Yeah, because we have different ways we can use fanboys. We can use fanboys to join two adjectives. Like I can say, my house is small and comfortable. And I do not need a comma because I'm only joining two adjectives. I'm not joining subject-verb pairs.
Oh. Okay.
So, and then we can use a fanboys to join nouns. Like I can say, my sister and my mom live in Mexico. I do not need a comma because I'm only joining two people. I'm not joining subject verb with subject verb.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, and we need to look at lots of examples. So I totally understand that. When we go to check the homework, let's start looking for some examples of fanboys that do not have comma, and we can look at those together, okay?
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
It's a great, great question. I appreciate all the questions and thoughts that you have. So let's finish this and then we can go to our homework. And by the way, welcome, Lucia. I see you joined us. We are checking our homework. So let's look at number 6.
Thank you, teacher.
You're welcome. Okay, Alan, this is your paper, so why don't you help us with number 6? You are correct to say it's a fragment. So what can we do to fix it?
I need to add something here.
Okay,
Like
what? How could we make it complete?
okay, so teacher, do you know what it means? I don't understand like the whole sentence.
Yes, of course I know what it means. I'm the one that made the sentence. It all makes sense in my head. Yeah, okay. Suntan is when your skin turns darker in the sun. So we say get tan. So that's like if I go outside in the sun and I just lay there and I'm trying to get a suntan.
Okay, so can I like do it like one day? No. No.
You know what's tricky about fragments is they don't make sense because they're not complete. So that's why it's a little bit of a struggle to fix it here. I was on the beach while I was getting a suntan.
No, like.
Well, you could say that, but we would say I was on, not
Right.
in. If you're in the beach, that's like down where the crabs and the, like inside, like you can't breathe. So I was on the beach while I was getting a suntan. You could put a period after suntan and you would have a complete sentence. Yes. But we have these extra words, one bird around me. Why don't we look at this? While I was getting a suntan, comma, one bird flew around me.
Okay, yeah.
And that way we can keep all of the words. We're just adding the word. So we start with while. And we don't need that part. I was on the beach because now you're adding another subject verb pair.
Oh.
Yeah, so we start with while I was getting a suntan, comma, and then one bird flew. How do we say flew?
Flew? Does it have E? Or just
how do we spell flew? Does anybody know? Past tense.
F-L. Oh.
E-W.
No, Alan. Carolina's correct. F-L-E-W.
Oh, flew.
You're thinking of the bird like the H1N1 or something.
Like fly. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So you see what I have is we've got one bird is a subject, and then flew is my verb. So the bird flew, that's my subject verb. But we need a comma after suntan. Okay, this is a kind of sentence that we've not studied yet. So this will be a little bit confusing because there's no fanboys. But it's the kind of sentence called complex sentence, and we will study those in level 2. I do not expect you to write these correctly all the time, but I just wanted to give you one example of a little bit of a challenging sentence. Now, remember, there's more than one way to correct fragments. So does anybody have a question about your correction or your paper? Okay, everybody seems good on those. So if you want to, you can take a picture or a screenshot of Alan's paper now, because now it is perfect. He has all the answers correct. So take a picture of that. And next, we're going to check our homework, page 263. So Alan, you can click on the top of your screen. There's a circle with a box. It says stop sharing. Yeah. Or
Okay.
yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. It's right there. The blue one. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was successful. We did a nice little group activity and nobody's computers crashed. We didn't lose anybody. I didn't kick anybody out of class, so I'd say that was a success. Is everybody there on page 263?
63.
Page 263, we are looking at run-ons for correct sentences. You have to identify if it's a run-on or a correct sentence. So let's go ahead and start with Carolina. Now, we already did number one. We said number one is a run-on. So Carolina, can you tell us about number two? I want you to tell us if it's a run-on and why.
I told teacher it's a run-on, and it should be a point between 30s and he.
Yes, good. So you can draw a line or put a period there to show we need to separate the subject-verb pairs. So this is a run-on, RO. For number two, we put RO in the blank. And after theories, it says heard about Taylor's theories. We need a period.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, Gerardo, what about you? Number three.
It's a run-on,
Yep.
and I add comma after thesis.
Okay, let me see. Hypothesis. Yes, that's correct. So comma after or a period after hypothesis.
Yes, hypothesis, I'm sorry.
Good. It says Wegener developed a new hypothesis, period. Okay. Why? Because we have subject and verb on both sides of the period. We have complete ideas. Wegener is the subject, developed is a verb. And we have all the continents is a subject. Had formed is actually called past perfect. That's the verb. Okay, so we have to separate those subject-verb pairs. Good job. Okay, Lucia, do you have number 4 by any chance? Do you have number 4?
Okay.
Is number 4 correct or is it a run-on?
It's a run-on.
Okay, why?
We need to put a period. We need to separate
A period.
geologists dismiss his theory.
Okay, so you think a period after geology.
Yes,
Is that right?
after geology.
Okay. Anybody else? Do you agree or disagree with her? Let's see what the class thinks.
I think it's correct.
Okay, why is it correct though? Because I see subjects and verbs on both sides of the comma. This one is tricky. It's actually a correct sentence, so you are right, Gerardo. But do you know why?
I think because after comma, it doesn't mean it's not a complete. It doesn't have a complete idea.
That is exactly correct.
Yeah.
So number 4 is a correct sentence. And the reason is because we have on the left side of the comma, we do not have a complete idea. So if I go to you, Lucia, and I say, hey, because Wegener was not an expert in geology, that's not a complete idea because you still are asking like what happened? You gave me the reason, but I need more information. So that's what we call,
Okay.
yeah, that's an incomplete idea. It's not complete, even though it has a subject and verb. So this I know is really tricky. but this is one of those points in writing level 1 that we're not focusing a lot on, but it is in your book. So we're kind of looking a little bit at it. Do you remember on the editing worksheet that I just showed you? And my sentence at the end starts with while.
Yes.
While I was getting a suntan on the beach, comma. Okay, that is the same type of sentence. It's the same kind of structure. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So that one was tricky. And Gerardo, can you do number 5?
Number 5, I put a Run-On, and number 5 you said, right?
Yes.
And I add a period before after theory, and I delete the comma after past. I don't know. That's a little confused for me.
Okay, we are going to put a period after theory, yes. And we don't need to remove any commas.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so it is a run-on. That's the most important thing that you see. And they did not ask you to correct these, but I know we're spending some time doing it because I kind of want you to understand why it's a run-on or why it's correct. But yes, number 5 is a run-on. We need a period after theory. Number 6 is correct because after the comma, we do not have a complete subject and verb. So if we don't have 2 subject-verb pairs, then we don't need to worry about the run-on. It's not a run-on. So when we say forcing continents to move, there is not a subject and verb over there. Remember we said to move is not a conjugated verb, right? So that one was tricky as well. Number 6 is kind of difficult, but it is correct as it is. Okay, number 7 is a run-on. We need to have a period after theory. And number 8 is a run-on. And where do we need to separate the subject-verb pairs in number 8? Who can tell me? After continents?
After continent?
Yes. So this is a comma splice. Number 7 was a comma splice. That's one kind of run-on. That's when we're just using commas instead of periods when we need them. Okay, anybody have questions about this practice?
You say comma after continents or period?
Period after consonants.
Okay.
Because the type of error is called a comma splice, which is one kind of run-on.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, so let's do a little review. How do we correct run-ons?
So we can correct run-ons adding a comma or adding a words like boys or period.
Okay, so these are the 2 that I shared in our last class. Sometimes we just need to put a period between the subject-verb pairs. And sometimes we can add or use a comma and fanboys, and that will create a compound sentence. Okay? And there's another way. If you look on page 264, they give you 4 different ways. But remember I said we don't really need to use semicolons, number 4 on page 264, because semicolons are very rare. So if you want to circle in the middle of page 264, I want you to circle number 1, make 2 separate sentences, okay? And circle number 3, add a comma and a coordinating conjunction. On page 264 in the middle of the page, we're circling number 1 and number 3. Those are the ones that I want you to do in our level. Number 2 is kind of challenging.
Sorry, teacher.
Yeah.
What numbers? 1 and 4, you say?
1 and 3. And I'll put it up here on the screen. 1 and 3. Because number 2 is a little challenging, we can add, that's where we add other words like a subordinating conjunction. You can if you want to, but it is challenging. And then number 4 says add a semicolon, but remember, I don't really want you to do that. So we're looking at mainly just doing number 1, so we circle that, and number 3, we circle that. Okay, guys. Any questions about your homework?
No, teacher.
Okay, let's do one more thing before we look at today's lesson. Let's go back to those 5 types of errors that we talked about. Who can remember the 5 or 6? You can actually make 6 from it. Who can remember those types of errors that we talked about on Tuesday? Anybody want to kind of help me review here? The 5 errors. You guys just did it in your editing worksheet, right?
Yes, subject, verb, subject, verb agreement, singular, plural, noun, verb form, verb tense, pronoun, and fragment, right?
Okay, good. Subject verb agreement. Actually, what I can do here, we got subject verb agreement, fragments, verb tense, verb form, and run-on and comma splice, and singular plural noun. Okay, so just in case you missed them, here they are. Fragments and run-ons or comma splices. Okay, that was the first one we talked about. And we talked about verb tense error. Remember, tense means time. Verb form error, that means you're not spelling the verb correctly. You're not putting the words together correctly. Maybe you're putting a, infinitive with to called. That's a verb form error. Okay, that's the third one. And then we have subject verb agreement. That means the subject doesn't match with the singular plural of the verb. Maybe the subject is plural, like they, and the verb is singular, has. Uh-oh, that doesn't match. That's a subject verb agreement error. Okay. And then the 5th one was the singular plural noun reference. So if I use the word some, I've got to make sure my count nouns are plural. Some people, some students, some classes. Okay. Another thing that happens a lot is like you put a number, we've got to make sure the count noun is also plural. Vegetables. Okay. Any questions on those so far? Why am I doing this? Questions?
No, teacher. Not for me.
Okay. So let me go to what we're doing today. We 2 ways to correct run-ons and comma splices. We just talked about that. We said to use a comma in fanboys or just put a period to correct the run-ons and comma splices. Okay. So let's do a little review of run-ons, since that's what we're focusing on in this chapter. So let's see. Lucia, can you answer this question for us? Which of these run-ons is a comma splice? So all of them are run-ons, but there's only one of these that's a comma splice. So Lucia, can you tell me which one is the comma splice? Gotta look for subject-verb pairs and a comma to separate them. Do you see it, Lucia?
Yes, teacher. Yes. Mm, The number C.
Letter C?
I think
Okay, does
the
letter C have a comma in it? It doesn't have a comma, so it's letter C is what we call
yes.
a fused sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, letter B is the comma splice because you can see after puppy, it just has a comma there and then a subject and verb. So we do not want to do that. So again, all of these are not correct, but letter B is what we would call a comma splice error because it just has a comma.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, Alan, what about this one? Which of the following is not a way to correct a run-on sentence?
The semicolon and a coordinator. See?
Yep, that is correct. We never put semicolon with a coordinator. We need to use comma with coordinator. Okay, coordinator is the same as fanboys. Okay, so good job on that one. Okay, Carolina, what about this one? Which of the following words is not a subordinating conjunction?
After.
No, after is one. It's going to be letter B because remember, B is the coordinator. And is a coordinator. It's not a subordinator. But we haven't really studied subordinators a lot, so don't worry about those. Subordinators are words like after, because, while, although, as, when. Those are subordinators.
Okay, teacher.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. In your book, I want you to turn over to the final review. The final review on page 266 and 267. Okay, is everybody there?
Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, and by the way, Gerardo, I'm still looking for examples of and boys with no comma, but I don't see any.
It's okay, teacher.
All right, well, we'll keep looking, but I don't see any here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in a group. You're going to have one partner, and you guys are responsible for correcting the run-on and comma splice errors in the final review. Okay? So you can type, you can share your screen and you can type the answers into a Word document if you want to. I will let you decide how you want to share your answers. But after 10 minutes, you're going to share the corrections with the rest of the class. Okay, so does that make sense?
Yes, teacher.
So we have four sections to the final review, and we're going to have 2 groups. So each group will do 2 of these questions, 2 numbers, okay? But make sure when you correct the run-ons, make sure that you can explain why you had to correct them. That's a hard part. So you have to explain why it's a run-on. So I want you to look at subjects, look at verbs on the left side, on the right side, okay? And then be ready to kind of share with the class. So again, I'll put you in your group. You'll have 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and you'll share your answers with the class. Okay, so the computer is doing the groups for me, so this works good. So we've got group 1 is going to be Alan and Carolina, and you guys are going to do number 1 and number 1 and 2. Page 266, number 1 and 2, at the final review, okay? And then Gerardo and Lucia, you guys are group 2. You're going to do number 3 and 4 on page 267. Number
Okay.
3 and 4.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody have questions about what you're doing?
No.
Not me, teacher.
Okay, guys, good luck, and I'll see you in 10 minutes back in the main classroom. So I'm putting you in your groups.